This is Yemi Majekudumi again from Widow Republic Secrets. I've got the opportunity to go into our series of interviewing thriving widows, and I've got a beautiful lady here by the name of Karine Nissim. She's come all the way from Miami Beach, Florida, to share her journey as a widow and to showcase, as we always do on this podcast, what you can do to overcome the adversity you are faced in losing your husband. We know it's not an easy journey, but the aim of the podcast is to encourage you and show you that if Karine can do it, you can do it. You can dare to dream greater. So I'm going to introduce Karine. Karine is a mother of 3 children, a technology entrepreneur. She's the co-founder of Daynew with Louise Bonn, and she has a background in films and writing. So she's a surviving widow, as I've mentioned, and her late spouse's name was called Aaron. So I'm not to go any further. I'm going to pass you on to Karine to tell us more about yourself, your journey, and your story. Thank you.
So my name is Karine Nissim. I lost my husband, Aaron, about 3 years ago. And as you mentioned, we had 3 young children. And I am very much continuing to survive and finding my way to thrive. Several months after I lost Aaron, I was introduced to another widow, a woman who was actually widowed 3 months to the day of when I lost my spouse. And we formed this beautiful friendship. Her name is, sorry, my dog. She's very excited about the
It's
story.
organic. It's part. It's
That's
good.
right.
It's good.
Yes.
Yeah.
So Eloise Bune and I were introduced through mutual friends. She lives in Connecticut. I live in Miami Beach. And we formed this beautiful friendship. It was a silver lining in a very bumpy journey. And we also both happened to be tech entrepreneurs. I had co-founded with my late husband a business called Dog Vacay, which merged with a competitor called Rover, which went public a couple of years ago. And it's like an Airbnb for pets. And when Eloise and I connected, we mourned together. We became each other's best friends. We talked through the struggles of raising children. And then more and more, as we began to heal, we focused on the ways that we could help others, how in many ways we were uniquely positioned because by nature we're more optimistic and social and have a good community, but that some people don't have those things and some people really struggle. And even under the best of circumstances, it is grueling. It is a journey full of dips that bring you to your knees, and to summon the will to get up over and over is a product of a mental constitution that you need to develop. And we developed Daynew, which is a tech platform and a community to support other people who are going through any kind of trauma, like loss or divorce or illness. And it's essentially a customized roadmap that allows you to build on your own healing journey. The way I think about it is optimize your healing and growth. And the way we do that is through several key features. So we have therapy-based prompts. Many people say, are you in therapy? Well, there is not enough therapy, right? To be able to do my own processing on my own is extremely helpful. Those prompts could be responded to and shared in community or kept privately. When they're shared in community, other people can read them and that can resonate. And for example, I shared quite openly about my loss on my Instagram handle at Karine Dream, really mostly for myself, because I knew as somebody who had had a film and writing background that this moment was really fertile for emotion, and I wanted to capture and remember. And what I started getting was all these messages from strangers saying that I was helping them over and over again, and I didn't understand why. And what I started to put together is that people need words. They need words on the feelings, and they need to know that they're not alone. And so, there is how I develop the therapy-based prompts. And Eloise, for example, is somebody who's very organized, whereas I'm a little bit more reactive. And there's so many more things that you have to do after you lose somebody or go through a trauma. So we also have a checklist feature, which just functions as a to-do list. So depending on your trauma type, we'll pre-populate for you some of the things you may need to do, and then also list and link out resources. For example, do you need life insurance? Do you need to find a therapist? Do you need to find a support group? Do you need to pay your bills? And then a portion of that task list can actually be shared with your community. And that becomes your community Daynew page. So that's an elegant way to ask your community without being so direct about the things you actually need.
Yeah.
So for example, I had lots of books and casseroles and flowers, and it was all very generous and beautiful. And I had meals for months. But what I really needed was somebody to sit with me and open the mail, somebody to sit with me and go through his belongings to donate them, somebody to drive my kids to school. And these kinds of things are hard to ask for. It puts a lot of pressure on the person who's mourning or who is surviving to have to be able to articulate, how can I help? Right. And then we have a wonderful page full of great content and tips and inspiring videos. And like I mentioned, it's really all about community and finding your way, not just to be functional, but to achieve what is known as post-traumatic growth. This idea that you can live a life of greater meaning and purpose, not in spite of what's happened, but because of it. And that's really what we want to help people get to.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Amazing. When you were talking, what came to mind is uniquely positioned. That's a very, very powerful phrase to use, because in talking to widows around the world, people come from different parts and are not always uniquely positioned. So
That's
even in
right.
terms of using technology, it comes under that banner as well, you uniquely position. Some people around the world don't even have access to a laptop.
You're right.
But I wanted to ask is, what is the take-ups to date, and what are your demographics, and where are they located using this app?
So most of our audience and our members are in the United States, all
Okay.
across, and in Canada. But we welcome the Brits, and
Because
ultimately we just launched in May, and we are really functioning on word of mouth and connecting with wonderful people like you who understand the widow's journey, who understand surviving trauma. And we are slowly ramping up to do more content, more events, more retreats, and more outreach. But we are self-funding it as two widows with 5 children in between us, and extremely determined for this to be a grassroots, natural, and organic evolution of community. And we continue to make it better and better. So within the next few weeks, we're going to, for example, connect the pieces between your profile view and your community page and your ability to find a buddy, so everybody knows who they're talking to. And you can post and be a part of the community anonymously, but for greater connection, the more that you're able to share about your loss or share your prompt responses, the more likely you are to be able to connect with others.
it sounds really brilliant. When you were
Thank you.
talking, what came to mind as well is what you said also was about the need for words, because I can relate to that. I mean, which is lovely. People bring meals, they bring all the
Yes.
the know-how, what they know to do. However, if you haven't lost a husband, I know people find it quite difficult to not to know what to say and so on and so forth. But as you rightly say, we do need words. And that links me to the work you do also on retreats. Do you want to share a bit more on that? Because I know as a surviving widow, the app is wonderful as well, especially at night. I can imagine, because I find the most difficult time for a widow is at night. So it's lovely to
Yes.
know there's actually some app you can go on and actually click on. But with the retreats, we're connecting as well. And that's where connection and words come together. So do you want to share a bit more about your retreats, please? And how do you market it as well?
Yes, so we haven't determined the date yet, but
Okay.
we're hoping to do some half-day retreats in the fall.
Okay.
And our goal will be to market it to our users through email, through ads, and through social media.
Okay.
And the idea behind these retreats are there are several good quality trauma recovery workshops and retreats that exist. But where we aim to differentiate is actually about pursuing and doing the things that feel good, that are wholesome, in that they really look at the whole person
Yeah.
and put together healing from different angles. So, for example, we talk a lot about traditional therapy, but there's loads of alternative therapies. You know, there's so much proof about being in nature. There's so much evidence that alternative modalities and doing breath work and shaking and grounding and movement and laughter and dancing can be extremely beneficial. So what we aim to do is actually bring together different practitioners who look at healing in different ways, so that it isn't a one size fits all, but instead becomes this exploration of what makes you feel good. How do you release the trauma from your body? How do you articulate what you've been through amongst peers who have been through hard things too, to form connection and to essentially do what we call collective healing? And you know, I'm a big believer in movement. I don't think you need to go to a gym to do it. I think you can walk outside and look at the trees and the wind rustling the leaves and breathe deeply. And then I think when you take that and you compound it with vision and with strategy, and you ask yourself the hard questions of, who am I actually today? I know that you can empathize that the stamp of widowhood becomes this rather isolating and shocking identity that is hard to adopt. I wouldn't accept it. You know, if there's one thing my therapist works on with me, it's to fully come to terms with the reality of my new identity, not as Aaron's wife, but as Karine Nissim, widowed mom of 3, running a business, running her life independently. And that is the biggest pill to swallow, and it takes a long time. So for us to be able to give people the framework of not just it is okay to experience pain, and it is okay to experience and pursue joy and pleasure, and in fact, doing them and being able to swerve between these two highways is so healthy for your brain. You are creating new neural pathways to understand that sorrow is just right next door to laughter and joy. And as soon as you can swerve here, you know, maybe you'll veer back here, but you can come back, you can dip back in. To be able to introduce these ideas, to be able to do it in a context of a group, to be able to do it with different, you know, modalities, to be able to position people to start to articulate who they are today and who they want to be. And that is truly the goal. It is to feel good and to start to identify, what are my values? What gives me purpose? What brings me joy outside of the context of being somebody's wife or someone's mother?
That's amazing. That's really amazing. There's so much to unpack there. But one thing that I just picked the salient things I can remember and who I want to be. And that ties in with my tagline, which is Dare to Dream Greater. Dare to Dream Greater links in with what you've just said, is who am I now that Mr. So-and-so has gone? My spouse has gone. Who is this individual now? What do I want? And as you're saying, this is what one of your workshops will offer people who attend, which is amazing. So what I wanted to ask you as well is, because what I tend to do as well is, when we are widows and we are running huge, like you've got a huge responsibility there with the workshops, with your tech background, with your writing. So what does Karine do personally? And what have you done? So like the question I'll ask you, like your first year, what were your three, what did you take out of your toolbox that made you survive as a widow that you
In
can
my
share with
first
your view?
year,
Yeah. Because I find that's the most challenging for a lot of people.
Yes. So I actually really did bookmark my journey in years
Okay.
mentally, right? So for me, that first year was truly about survival, but I'll never forget, you know, during the week of grieving after my loss called a Shiva, um,
Yes.
I felt this out of body experience.
Mm.
And I remember floating above and looking down at myself. And I said to myself, forgive the language, but how do I make the best of this shit show?
Mm. Mm.
And and I remember thinking so very clearly that I needed to live as an example to my children. And
Mm.
in order to do that, I needed to be my best self. And in order to do that, I needed to show them somebody who got up every day, somebody who
Mm.
exercised, somebody who functioned, somebody who worked, somebody who socialized, somebody who laughed,
Yeah.
somebody who cried. I needed to model all of it for them. And I knew that in that moment, I was letting go of that perfect mom persona that
Yeah.
I had attached to, this sort of Betty Crocker mom who cooks everything from scratch all the time and is
Mm.
there for every single moment of their life. And instead, I was choosing to be a warrior and an example of resilience and grit and the relentless pursuit of joy, and also of healing and growth and grieving and all the things. And so in that first year, I focused on moving my body. I
Okay.
started walking. I would walk 1, 2, 3 hours a day, sometimes with friends, sometimes with not. Anybody that asked me to spend time with them, I would say yes. I would come home from a long walk. I would nap. I would try to watch funny movies. I would socialize as much as I could in the
Yeah.
evening. I would get as much support as I could with the kids. I would focus on spending time with them and showing up the best way I can. In those first days, I would go to their football games and I would sit behind my sunglasses and sob.
Mm. Mm. That's amazing. It's amazing. With what you've shared, it seems quite a lot, doesn't it? But you did it. You're still here.
I'm still here, and year
Mm.
two became a lot about trying to get organization for my life.
Yes. Yes.
Try to pull
Mm.
together all the legal and financial administrative stuff, the stuff that I couldn't handle.
Yeah.
And year three, I have a little break for my kids there in camp. And what's been so remarkable to me is there was a water intrusion in my house, and I had to do, remediation and
Mm.
something with the roof and something with the this and the that. And it's like I have to talk most of the time with my friends' husbands about all the ways in which I have to care for my home.
Yes. Yeah.
Right. And if anybody asks me a question about caring for my home, I know all of it. I know all the smart
Mm.
apps for the lights, for the this, for
Yes.
the that. And, you develop not just resilience, but independence and knowing that comes from experience, so that you are
Mm.
so deeply seated in your life and so
Yes.
much an owner of your life
Yes.
that all these decisions come to you. And that to me is the greatest achievement for me, to feel functional in my
Mm.
life and being able to handle the things I don't like to handle.
Yes. Yes. That's
Taking out the
amazing.
trash, to troubleshooting house issues, to dealing
Mm.
with my kids' big emotions, to dating, to starting a new
Yeah.
business. These are big,
Mm.
big things to have to do in your
Indeed.
40s.
Indeed. Indeed. So you mentioned the word dating. So that takes us, because we've covered a lot, more or less five of the fronts. But it takes me to one of the questions I always ask widows when they come on is number 6. So have you
Yes.
ever considered remarriage or being part of a couple again, or do you prefer to be single at the moment?
I think up until now, I was
Mm.
happy to date because I like people and I like connecting, and I genuinely found it very interesting to hear people's stories and how they kind of got to this second chapter in their life. But I don't know that I was emotionally really ready because, to my earlier point, I wanted to feel fully independent, secure, and knowing what I want for this next
Yeah.
half. And now more than ever, what I'm craving is real companionship and
Mm.
alignment of values, that are family focused, that honor purpose and honor tradition and honor moving forward in a healthy and a wholesome way. And so, you know, it's been wonderful to be able to articulate it, and I'm very hopeful to
Yeah.
recouple and partner with somebody who is worthy.
Oh, that's amazing. Because it's that's very positive, your feedback, because it's only been 3 years. And when I talk to some women, they've been further along and they're not ready to, they haven't really got to where you've got at all. So that's quite positive. So just to round up, is there's
Well,
one,
I want to add something else, and I
yeah,
think
go
it's
on.
actually really relevant for other
Yes.
widow
Yeah.
people. You know, unlike the separations and divorces that happen in other
Yes.
relationships,
Yeah.
the dissolution of you know, a marriage that results in a widow
Yeah.
is not necessarily because it doesn't work. And
Mm.
so I find that, you know, widows' work is healing, but it's very much, my dog doesn't want me to talk about
Jealous.
She's like, what about me? You know, I find that my identity is as somebody who was a very good partner.
Yeah.
And knows herself to be good in partnerships, in fact, partnered with
Mm.
somebody else to start this business.
Yes, yes.
Energetically, you know, is
Mm.
very complimentary to
Of
me. And so
course,
it
yes.
feels natural to want to partner with somebody else, but
Yes.
to be able to be more particular about who that person is, you know?
Of course. And it's such a very important point because I think we actually are more stronger when we're more than one in
That's
any
right.
sphere. You know, the more that, you know, and that also relates because I can relate to that. I find I feel stronger when I'm in relationship, but not with
Yes.
anybody, not just anybody.
No,
You have to find the right person.
that's right.
Okay,
Wait,
so
so are you dating somebody? Are you partnered?
not at the moment. I did, but not at the
Okay.
moment. Not at the moment. I'm just keeping my heart open, but I
Come
always
to
keep.
Miami. We're gonna go out.
Okay, I keep my heart open. I don't.
Okay.
I never say I'm not going to meet someone, but I'm expectant in my heart to meet the right person. And that's why I talk about a lot of my podcasts and stuff. Because you never know. I think once we close our hearts unconsciously, even when the person comes by, you won't see the person because we've shut their hearts. And it ties in with healing as well. Anyway, I'm not going to say too much. When we meet at some point, we'll go more into that. All right, so just to conclude, it's been a brilliant interview, and it's been so short, but you've impacted me a lot. But what I wanted to ask you, just to leaving the audience, just give us 3 motivational facts that will always strengthen a widow's grief journey.
Okay, 3 facts that will always strengthen.
3 motivational facts. Just 3 motivational facts that will always, no matter where they are around the world, no matter how they're positioned, 3 facts that will always strengthen their grief recovery journey.
Okay. All right. My dog. Oh my goodness. Fact number 1
Yeah.
is moving your body. Oof. I want to put her outside. Is it okay? Do you have a moment for me to do that?
You can go on. I'll just leave the thing. You go and do it. Don't let
Okay. Okay.
audiences, they like to see behind the camera anyway. So go on, yeah.
Okay, I'm going to do it quickly. Fact number 1 is moving your body has been proven to heal. You must move your body completely with anything that feels good. It's
Yes.
walking, it's running, it's exercise, it's weights,
Yeah.
anything that feels good. Continue to move your body.
Yep.
Bodies in motion, stay in motion. It is fine to sit on the couch for a day. It is fine to sleep in. It is fine to cry yourself a river, but get up. Just keep getting up.
Yeah.
The second fact is that there's 4 main ways that people move through grief. One is watching funny, silly movies or
Yeah.
pursuing entertainment that is lighter.
Yeah.
Another one is sitting amongst people talking about their loved one. You know,
Mhm.
another one is journaling or
Yeah.
doing more like self-reflection or therapy. You know, and the last one is actually going out and trying to have a good time. And
Yes.
it's the
Yeah.
first and the last that are actually proven to move the barometer faster.
Yes.
Pursuit of joy, laughter in the
Yes. Yeah.
content that you consume, and also in the way in which you prepare yourself for the world. Putting on a nice outfit, going out in the environment of laughter and joy
Yes. Yes.
proven to help you over and over again. You know, and the last thing is nature.
Yeah.
Be outside, spend time looking at the clouds, find a mountain and climb it. Go into a river and dip your toes, right? Be okay to sit on a rock and stare out into the wonder of the
Yeah.
world. Being able to do those three things are accessible to everybody. And if you can do a little bit of it every single day,
Yeah.
it is really the path to healing.
Definitely. All right. So thank you so much. I'm going to get you to plug what you do. Can you tell us where we can find you and how people can access the app?
Yes. Well, I would love for people to follow me on Karine Dream on Instagram, KarineDream. The same thing on any of the social platforms. My last name is Nissim, Nissim. And our app is called Daynew. It can be downloaded from any of, Google or Apple Store. And also online, you can just go to daynew.com. I encourage everybody to download the app, to fill out the quiz, and to keep plugging back in, checking back in. And you'll find that after time, it can be extremely rewarding, and that our community will build that way. You can also follow Daynew on LinkedIn and on all our social platforms too.
That's brilliant. Thank you very much. So we're going to say thank you. I'm going to say thank you to you today. It's been a beautiful conversation and very enlightening and very real. And I'm looking forward to going to that app actually. After when I come, I'm going to go and click on it. Although I've done some, obviously I looked you up as well. But I'll go and use the app and see.
Well, I want to know your feedback.
Yeah, I'll give it to you. Yeah, okay. So I'm saying thank you to Karine Nissim for coming, for your time. And I'm definitely looking forward to sharing this podcast to my audience. And signing off again, this is part of the Widow interview series. This is Yemi Majekodumi from Widow Recovery Secrets. Do share the podcast, download, like, and don't forget to subscribe. Thank you very much.
Thank you.